How do you be purposeful about giving yourself the space for recovery this summer? Hello, Camp Mavericks. Welcome to the CampHacker podcast. My name is Travis Allison. I'm a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant, and I help camps work to make sure that more kids get a camp experience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson, and I'm one of the camp directors at Camp Highlight, an incredible summer camp for children who have LGBTQ parents.
And my name is Gabrielle Rail, and I'm one of the camp directors of Camp Woro. Camp Woro is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains of Quebec, Canada, and we focus on creating a positive female community.
And hi, my name is Kate Taylor. I'm the camp director at Camp YMCA Canawana in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And we are the oldest summer camp in Quebec, having just celebrated our 125th in 2019.
Stunning. Kate, thanks for being here. We're so grateful to have you. I wonder, just since it's your first time on CampHacker, if you could tell us a bit about how you got started at camp. What was the first camp experience you had?
My very first camp experience was actually at a different YMCA camp, Camp Davern, which is outside of Ottawa. And then when I was 11, I went to Camp Woro. So Gabz was actually
Never heard of it.
CIT director when I was 16.
Yeah.
So she's my camp mom. So I was at Woro for 16 years and then did 2 years as assistant director out at Camp Sealth in Washington State. And now I've been at Canawana since 2017.
Yep. Amazing. Tell me, what is your favorite thing that happens at Canawana in a day?
Ooh, that's a good question. I love cheers. And I didn't like them when I first got to Canawana because I found them very overwhelming.
Yes.
Basically, it's at the end of a lunchtime, we put up all of the tables and gather in the dining hall, and the sections do a cheer. And they usually do 1 or 2 cheers, and then we all gather into the middle and do the Canawana cheer. And it is rowdy, and we shake the dining hall. We broke the dining hall floor once, so then we had to move it outdoors. But it's a really, really great way for the kids to like let off a whole bunch of steam and get real psyched for the day.
That is amazing. Well, welcome to CampHacker. We're grateful to have you. So today we're talking about ways, as I said in the intro, ways that you can be purposeful about looking after yourself and intentional about making sure that you are there to be ready to help others. And it's a topic we've covered in small pieces of this. So we look back and we talked about having people in the fall. We did a show on having people to call on in this case, but I want to focus on kind of your own self strategy and to be perfectly upfront and make sure we honor him. This is a topic that Ari Polsky posted about in the COVID-19 Slack and has given a ton of great stuff. So we want to thank Ari for the inspiration for this. We just found out today Ari's going to be on a show in the future, a CampHacker show in the future. So I'll get a chance to thank him in person on the podcast, but we're grateful for that. So being as strategic as you are able, or whatever your intention is for this, what is something that you do in a summer to make sure that you have good self-care, good time to yourself? How about you, Gab?
For me, I like to create space where I like to call it brain play. So it's whatever my brain dictates, that's what I do. And I have a limited time for that, of course. But I find that there's a difference between relaxing and calming down and brain play. And brain play is really whatever my head says, let's go for a swim, or let's hang out with a bunch of kids, or I want to paint right now. It's just giving me the permission to do what my head is saying, like, I really, really would like to X, Y, and Z. And I think that for some people that can be anxiety inducing because you have the creepy little voices of I should be doing X, Y, and Z, or I need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And we have to pay attention to those voices. And sometimes we need to tell them to calm down a bit. They're sometimes a little dramatic. But I think also it's what I do in the sense that I know that my head sometimes gets a little constricted with camp schedules and the pressures and my needs. And this is a way of just letting myself be able to do what is necessary. And it creates actual space to problem solve all of those shoulds and to problem solve all how to deal with certain things. So it is actually creating, it actually makes me more productive, but the goal is not to be productive.
I love that. I love that. Well, for you, Kate, what's a thing that you do that others may not think of, or that you just appreciate and guaranteed you'll make time for?
For me, it's really important to set boundaries with my staff and with my supervisors of when I'm available or not available to them.
Yes.
So part of that is like keeping my living space as my living space and keeping it as much a work-free zone as I possibly can. So like, I really need to have that sanctuary that I can escape to, that like I'm not bringing my work into my bedroom and trying to work in bed just because that's the only place I can hide away from my staff. I make it clear that like, okay, I'm in the office, but I'm doing this work and I need to focus on this work. So I'm not available to you right now. This is the time when I am available to you. And this is when you can bug me with whatever's on your mind. So boundaries are really, really, really key for me.
I can't tell you, Kate, how many camp directors I've spoken to that come to me at conferences and say, I need my staff to, understand how much I have to work and to stop bothering me, et cetera, et cetera. And right when we start talking about boundaries, that's when they're like, well, what if they really do need to talk to me? And what if they have to, and what if, and they go down this rabbit hole of, and the reality is that then, it is hard to say no, and it is hard to put up those boundaries, but it's important for your staff to know that it's that you do need to get work done, because if you don't do that, then you are bringing work into your bedroom, with a flashlight, hoping nobody can tell that the light is on.
And Chris, I know you've got some good stuff to help, but I want to pick up on what Kate just said too, and what Gab added onto it. I have seen, and this is the great privilege of our job now, is that I have been on lots of camps and seen lots of camps running. And if you recall, I've said many times in this podcast before, my big theory of leadership is that we need to deeply and thoroughly understand that we are always teaching. Even if we're not the one at the front of the room, actually teaching something, every moment we are teaching. And I have seen staffs burn themselves out because they're following the lead of their camp director. And I have seen staffs work till 2 a.m. past camp zone curfew because the camp director is doing the same and they just think it's expected. And yeah, that's a risk. And just, you are teaching great things by teaching boundaries, and incredibly important. What's a thing for you, Chris?
Yeah, I have really bad boundaries when it comes to work. and
I'll come to highlight this summer, and I'll just sit there and say, Chris, you need to not be doing this right now.
The thing, I want to tell a really brief story. Like many years ago, I was a camp counselor at a camp, and it was a 6-week camp, and I was obviously a rock star at this camp, and I loved it, and I was like into it. And then one day my supervisor was like, hey, can you help me with something? We're gonna get in the car and drive to the other side. I said, sure. Drove out to the street, drove to town, dropped me at the mall. And he says, I'll come pick you up in 6 hours. You're not hanging out with kids.
Yeah.
Chased after the car in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so unfair. And then I went to the food court, and then I ate real food. Then I was like, maybe it's not so unfair, As a camp director, now the thing is, like, Camp Highlight is 1 week long. So like I have like a whole Rocky routine 2.5 months before camp. Like I go to the gym every day. I get on a diet. Like I make sure that I prepare my body, because I know I'm going to go 7 days nonstop without sleep. This isn't healthy. If you're listening to this, do not do that. Do not. Every year it gets harder and harder. During the year, we still do stuff during the year. And that's my self-care is really, and it's taken a long time to understand how to delegate appropriately and how to let people know, listen, this is what I've done. Now, this is what you're going to do, and you'll check in with me. And now I'm at the point with the staff where I say, I don't want to be involved in this project. like I'm giving it to you because I can't. I just can't. Okay. So, and everyone's been very respectful about that. While at camp, I mean, this is such a bad model. No one listening to this should follow this model. But like the best I can do is nap. That's the best I can do. And then I can only nap until I hear someone screaming my name, which seems to happen constantly. I guess there's a lesson in there somewhere, but I have yet to learn it. Um, I think if you're running a short program, listen, don't follow my example. I think it's really important that you shave off time. That's something that we're planning to do for each of the admin staff this year, is give everyone like a full night off, like seriously, like rent an Airbnb off
Yeah, yeah.
campus and let people are going to rotate in there. So everyone has a night off, not on campus, not with the, we have these like James Bond's headsets that we stick in our ear. No one can see them. Like nothing, no one talking to you 24 hours a day. You take it out, you leave it, you go. Just saying no and just turning off is critical. It seems so simple, right? And then, but as a camp director, you're at camp, you're like, well, if I take my hand off, everything's going to like crash and burn. Well, you're a camp director because that isn't true, right? You did all the work beforehand. You interviewed all these people. You set it into motion so it can spin without you. If you believe it will crash and burn should you leave, then either you built a faulty machine or you're suffering from egoitis. We're important people at camp, but if we built it so that it can't operate without us, then we didn't do a great job.
Two things. My first summer as a camp director, I would wake up from nightmares of people calling my name. I'm with you. It was like just people constantly calling my name. So that was also a clue for me to set boundaries. But look, it's our job as camp leaders to set up other people to lead. And the only way we can do that is to let them lead. One of the biggest fights I ever had with a board member, she was mad that I was not up front with my guitar leading every song at Campfire. And she's like, but you'd be so much better than they are. I was like, yes, I would be better guitar player, but they will never get to be as good a guitar player in front of kids. I'm an excellent camp guitar player. I'm not a good guitar player. But anyway, I was like, they will never get to be better if they don't do it. So she was mad and we had a bit of a fight about that. What are you thinking, Kate?
I was just thinking, this reminds me a lot of, I can't remember which Camp Pro it was, but someone on Summer Camp Pros mentioned the concept of a bus binder. And it's the binder that they made for if they get hit by a bus. So if they get hit by a bus, that binder exists to tell you exactly how to do that person's job. And I don't have a bus binder. I really should have a bus binder, but like the concept that I've been trying to work with is at least like equipping my staff to be able to handle things without me. Because, there's been summers where I got laryngitis and I was out for 2 weeks with no voice. I was still there and I could still, text them questions and answers, but like, if they need to do something, they could do the things without me.
Are there things that you've heard of in talking to other camp pros that you're like, I'd really love to do, like just things that you're on your self-care goal list?
Just heard a really interesting concept today, actually. I was talking with my coworker, Ben, who is our diversity and inclusion specialist for the WISE. And he was mentioning that stress can actually like come out as a physical ailment if you're not paying enough attention to yourself. So like if you have like your back is flaring up and like all of a sudden you're like, oh God, my back is really sore, or like that knee injury that you got from jumping in a pool badly during lifeguard training is all of a sudden like really starting to bug you, like maybe that's a sign that you should be checking in with yourself of like you're stressing yourself out a little too much. And I was like, that's a thing I should be doing. I should be doing that like sort of body check during the summer to see if there's something going on that like shouldn't be going on because I haven't done anything to injure myself.
It's so good and it's so true. And I'm worried about a lot of camp professionals we've spoken about this on the podcast a couple of times before, but are running the marathon and the finish line is the start of camp. And that's we did our marathon, we got camp open. And usually it's the other way around. Like as Chris demonstrated, I think, there is something to be said, Chris, a little bit about like what you're saying before camp to just take care of yourself and take care of your body and take care of your mental space before you get to camp. But I think so many camp directors, to make camp happen, to make sure they have the staff, to make sure that, they're clearly communicating with their families on whatever the protocols might be, are just working so hard and might be ignoring some of those signs of stress and the toll that it takes on our bodies. And I love that, what Ben brought up for you, Kate. That is, for me, so important, and that camp directors, because we care so much, tend to ignore, those indications.
I'm reminded of stuff that Dan used to say when Dan was here. Dan used to talk about how he would make a request for something, a TV show that he could binge in the summer, and he would make himself watch an entire TV series every summer, through that 3.5 or 4 months. He was just, this is my rule. I have to finish this series. And that would be enough time, that because he, would get home late and miss his family and all that stuff. And it'd be like, it was a rule so that he could make himself relax and just have time that was quiet. I'm a night person, and I'm a person who loves to be surrounded by people, which is why camp works for me. But I had to really train myself to get up early in the morning so that I could balance out that being surrounded by all of the fun of camp and all the people with a bit of time by myself, where I would also exercise, because I would just go for a walk for 45 minutes or an hour with the dogs. And it meant that I developed a love and an understanding of the property that I think other people, I think no one else had at that time. I don't know anymore. I just knew every nook and cranny of it, because I would spend time every day, winter, summer, on site for an hour, just walking and getting to know the place. But it was quiet time for me. I don't relax without stuff going in through my headphones very well. So I would just put on a podcast or a book and walk that way. But it gave me an appreciation of place. It gave me a bit of exercise, and it gave me some time to prepare for the day. Because like everybody, as soon as the wake up started at 7:45, everybody was just, at my door. And that was a space that I created.
So you're talking about habits, forming
Yeah.
habits, stress reduction habits, which is, I think that's the real golden ticket here, isn't it? Because it's not so much like, I don't know if anybody wants to hear this. It's the hard truth. Let's have real talk. It's not so much strategies that I can employ to sort of relax. Like, you have got to be in like the mindset and lifestyle of accepting relaxation. Look, this is a high stress situation. It's a high stress job. It just is. And people will paint it any which way, like as I did earlier, like, oh no, if you did your work, I don't mean to say that if you did your work early, it's not stressful. Just mean if you did your work early, you don't have to stress as much. Nevertheless, it's a high stress position. And, strategies like meditating, deep breathing, that's all great. But you have to be like Travis, like you said, like you formed the habit of doing this. Your body would think it would be odd if you didn't. And that's where you want to be with self-care, right? That your body would miss it if you weren't doing it. You want to be more like a Travis and less like a Chris.
But I think that you can't expect yourself to be able to form a new habit at camp necessarily. It's so much better if you get it started ahead of the summer. Like, start now.
Yeah.
Like if you know there's something that you want to do, like now's the time. We're April 29th. Let's go.
Yeah, there's still time to work on that. Yeah. There's still time to get into a groove before camp starts, and you'll be thankful for it. I would be thankful for it. Just like as I get in this like an exercise routine, like I'm thankful for it when I get there and I've got to chase after these kids or whatever. I'm thankful that my aging bones have been conditioned for the previous 2 months. I just need to turn that attention to self-care.
And I love what you're saying, also, Chris, about accepting to relax, and I think that when if you're like, well, meditation doesn't work for me, well, maybe it doesn't, maybe that's not your thing, and that's okay. But what does help you to relax? For me, like brain play works for me because my brain likes to go in very random places, and at camp I have to stay as focused as possible, so it's a helpful thing for me to do. But the acceptance that you have limitations, the acceptance that role modeling is also beneficial for your whole team to see, accepting that relaxation is a part of recovery, it's a part of reflection. The acceptance part, I think, Chris, is on point.
Well, I think you put it well as earlier, Gabz, when you said giving yourself permission. Sometimes we don't think that we're allowed to do the thing. So, I remember there was a session I went to at a WIC summit a couple of years ago where they actually gave us out permission slips, and we got to fill in the blank of I give myself permission to do this, and permission slip for brain play, permission slip for taking a jump in the lake, permission slip for doing an activity with the kids, like whatever it is that you need that makes your summer have joy in it. That's something that camp directors need to remember to do.
Is there anything you are sure to pack for camp that that is on your always list that's just for you?
Yes, and it's mundane as hell. Ready? It's a lamp.
Listening.
It's a lamp.
Yeah.
In the director's cabin, like there's one light switch, right? So either everyone's awake or everyone's asleep. And so, I'll get into bed, and because my mind's racing, sometimes I'm so exhausted I don't remember climbing into bed. And sometimes I'm like, I'm just not ready. So the lamp allows me to read and sort of transport my mind somewhere. And then there's like really boring stuff I always pack, like an alarm clock. But this is just idiosyncratic of me. Very comfortable socks. It makes me feel like I'm home. That's helpful. And so sometimes, oh God, I don't know who listens to this, but sometimes I'll get in and I'll slip on like my super comfy winter socks. It's the dead of summer, right? But it just makes me feel really comfortable. So it's cool. What about you? What about the rest
I
of
think
you?
Joe Richards would agree with you on the socks thing. He has some excellent-
Absolutely.
Little Joe representation in the
Yeah.
show that he can't be on. Yeah.
For me, I always have my hammock. Whether I get to put it up at any point or not, I always bring my hammock so that it's there if I ever get an opportunity to put it up somewhere.
Is there stuff for you, Gab? You don't necessarily pack it up, but stuff you make sure that you have in supply in your cabin?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I have the worst. What I do have written down is make a list of things that you do need for camp, and get it done now. And I really am the worst at remembering my. I don't have it in front of me. I have no idea. So I'm sure if I talk to Jackie, she'd be like, you need this and this and this. And I talk to Natasha and she's like, also don't forget this and this and this. Sure, there's things I absolutely need. But nothing's coming to mind. But I think like definitely making a list and making sure you have those things and you're getting it done before you go to camp. So you're just, again, like Chris was saying, take that pressure off. There's just one more thing that's not on your plate. You're taken care of.
I thought I was opening the door, Gab, for you to say cats. That you always bring your cats.
That is very true. See, that's all I'm saying. People that know me,
You have to make a list.
Exactly.
And Kate's got her kitty too.
You bring cats? You bring
Yes,
like
there's-
live cats?
The cats. Yeah.
Are they outdoor cats?
Yes, they are.
Really?
I'm
Oh,
not.
wow.
They're very therapeutic for the people that don't like dogs.
I'm fascinated by outdoor cats. Let's do a whole podcast on that sometimes. I'm fascinated. I want to hear
My
more
cat
about your outdoor
would
cat.
love to be an outdoor cat, but I'm worried that she would run away and get eaten by a coyote. So I
Right.
put her on a little harness and I bring her out on my porch with me,
Oh,
or I
well.
put her in her little kitty backpack and I bring her around camp and introduce her to people.
Does that reduce
see,
your stress?
Oh, I love it. The kids love it too. 'Cause
I
they're
bet
like,
they
oh my
do.
God, you have a cat in a backpack. Like, what is going
Yeah,
on?
that's awesome.
You got to get your cat a clothesline, Kate, so she's got a little more range. for a harness.
It's true.
Is that-
Yeah.
is
Well, I mean,
that-
the last time I did that, she went under my cabin and wrapped herself around a pole. So, you know, I have to
Yeah.
limit her range.
That's actually an interesting connection to stress relief because Travis, you mentioned your dogs, and now suddenly we're talking about cats. Like,
Yep.
it's interesting to me that your camps allow animals on the campsite. Ours does not, for a variety, because, you know, someone could be allergic to something and then it's a whole hullabaloo.
Mhm.
But I'm not an animal person, but it strikes me that would be really great stress relief if you could bring your pet to camp and it would not, like, you know, freak the heck out. That's a great avenue.
Yeah, if you're a pet person and you're, you know, thinking about a camp director job, but you don't want to get the camp director job if it won't let you bring your pets, that's like something that you need to kind of negotiate with your higher ups. I negotiated having a cat before I got the cat, just to make sure that it was okay.
Wow.
Smart. Super smart.
You're very smart.
Mm-hmm. And I know there are people who think that having cats and really dogs at camp is the stupidest thing in the world. Steve McGuire's made a big show about how stupid he thinks it is, even though he has a dog and loves dogs. That's always his preface. But my experience with dogs at camp has always been amazing. I know there's a risk. We've never had a problem. We never had a problem when I was growing up at camp and there was a dog. It's just great stress relief and fun. But yeah, you gotta be ready in particular, and you have to have a well-trained dog. That's why I don't remember letting staff have dogs, but we live there year round. So, you know, but there have been a few staff who brought dogs since we left, and they all worked out great. Dogs that I loved. So I was telling Webster, our old yellow lab, stories about Webster just the other day. Maybe on the fundraising podcast, we were talking about how Webb loved to Webb loved two things at camp, and that was he would run into the lake when kids were beginning kayaking and they're pushing off from the beach instead of getting in from the dock. He would run out, grab the hanging handle on the rope handle on the back of the kayaks and retrieve the kids, his golden retriever or yellow retriever, retrieve the kids and pull them back in. And
that's so cute.
You get radio calls like, can you call Webster so we can get this class started, please?
Yes.
That is so cute. I am not an animal person, and an animal on site would increase my stress.
Yeah.
So I'm living vicariously through the three of you who like enjoy animals and want them around. If a staff member brought a dog to camp, I would completely have a full conniption. So did you see my face when you were like, oh, we had staff who brought dogs to camp? I'd be like, what are you
never that was certainly part of the contract, never without permission or our knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I'm just trying to think, is there I like the idea, the things that you'd pack or other things that you do during a day that might surprise people. Like I you know, my time, you know, like there are times of the day that like I need 20 minutes. Like you're not calling me between 9:30 and 10 in the morning. That is either just time for me to go home to the house and, you know, put on the appropriate clothes for the day instead of the ones I woke up and slammed on to get to, you know, breakfast as fast as I could, or time to spend time with Beth, whatever it was. But I locked out some of that. Another thing that was the essential self-care for me is when my brain is going and going and going and I need to sleep, the only thing that works for me, or not the only, I have a little meditation that I've done since I was a kid that helps when I remember to do it. But if I have a book, I can listen to a book for 15 minutes and fall asleep in 10, no matter how stressed I am, 97% of the time. And I don't recall it. I just always start back the next day, 15 minutes earlier. And sometimes at camp, that means that I listen to the same 10 minutes of a book for 10 days or 2 weeks. But that's just one of those things that I know, like I need sleep. I need to get to sleep quickly. I'm going to slam in a book and just let that shut off my brain to listen to those things. And just that amount of focus on that just makes me zonk. What are any other things that you can think of?
I have two weird habits that I can
love weird habits. Yep.
So one is if I'm going to the bathroom, I'm turning my walkie off.
Yes.
I am
Yes.
not answering
Yes.
my
Wait a
walkie.
minute. Is that controversial in any universe?
I have been sought out in the bathroom in the
Yes.
past, and I was
Me
like,
too.
no, boundaries.
Yeah.
I'm turning my walkie off while I am doing my business. And then the second one, which was actually introduced to me by my now assistant director, he was my program director at the time. When we're having a heat wave, we take the privilege of being office staff to do walk-in fridge inspections. So it is, mandatory meeting in the fridge. We
Love
go
it.
into the kitchen and go into the walk-in fridge or the freezer if it's a real bad day, and we inspect, quote unquote, the fridge to make sure that it's working right. And so you have to stay in there for like a few minutes just to make sure it's working
Definitely.
right. Oh man, when your brain is like fully melting because of the heat is so bad, that's when you know you got to get in the fridge.
When you go in, you open the door and you find a counselor on their hour off on a milk crate with a book. You're like, yeah, it's hot out. It's really hot.
We do like a jailbreak. This is not, I mean, again, I feel like I'm recommending things you should not do, but this is how I keep my sanity during the week. So there's two directors at Camp Highlight, me and Jackie, and been friends for a long time. And sometime midweek, we just look at each other, get a look, and we just get a look. Then we start moving towards her car, and then we just get the hell out of there. Now we have assistant directors, but back in the day, it was really risky. So we just both would leave campus, and there was like an ice cream spot. We'd go and we'd get ice cream, and we'd have normal conversation about non-camp stuff, just pretending like we were just hanging out. And then it would always end with us speeding back to camp going, oh God, oh God, oh God. But for that half hour, it was really magical just to be sitting and eating ice cream like in public, and other people had kids and they were watching their kids, and I just could just pretend like I was like a regular person. That was really good for my sanity. And I really look forward to the moment where we're like, things are kind of quiet. Yeah, real quiet. Meet me at the car. And that's it,
I love it. I have to take naps every day. I must. Kate's like shaking her head. She knows right after lunch. It's just like, that's my situation. It's literally 15-20 minutes. I don't need an alarm. My brain turns off and it turns back on its own, and I'm ready to go. I recently started, and recently means the past couple, maybe 4 years, I've recently started making myself almost every morning brunch. So our morning meetings start at 6:50 in the morning.
Hey.
And we have about 3 meetings before 8 a.m. So it's a sort of like a go type situation. And when my head is in something, I'm not hungry. I've tried to have breakfast with everybody else. It doesn't work. So I have a little bit of a tiny little snack in the morning. And then once that first activity has started after breakfast, as Christy said, things are calm. I go to my cabin and I would make myself basically usually like eggs, avocado toast. And it was so nice to do that. And it's just like a little morning ritual. And it just gave me like a break in the morning just to have my little something to eat. And I, of course, ate with the staff and everybody at lunch and dinner, but I'd have just a little mini brunch.
I love the sound of that, Gab. This topic, all of these things, all these laughs today has made me miss camp more than any CampHacker show all year. So thank you to the three of you for that. In a good way. I was going to say, Chris, I love the you can't talk about camp rule. Like, here's a lunch. Okay. It's a bunch of stressed out senior staff who are sitting down, and someone starts, and then someone just says, I need this to be not talk about camp meal. And you're like, yep, good. Okay.
We also have like, we do this closer to the end, like with the whole staff, we have like a cursing circle where there are no kids around, and we just say like filthy things.
Curse your face off.
Yeah. We just curse our face off. And so like we go off campus and just everything is F this, that, F that, just getting it out and just feeling like the power of the word. And then, then you go back and it's like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but out there it's like, on those streets, you can get real gritty.
You're like, I am a bleeping adult,
Yeah.
and I can bleepity bleep all I want because I'm bleeping an
Yeah,
adult.
and no complaining about camp. That is
Right.
that is key.
Yes.
We're not complaining or cursing about the kids. We're just talking about our
No.
lives.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, thank you all again. Thank you for appreciate the laughs and thinking about camp. I also want to take a second and I want to take a second and really appreciate Ultra Camp for sponsoring the CampHacker podcast. It has been great support to us this year to have Ultra Camp as our advertiser. And I want to encourage you to reach out to them. If you go to summercampsoftware.com/CampHacker, you can set up a time to chat with them. They are there to remind you why you got into camp in the first place, to help you find the time to enjoy and spend those moments with your staff and with kids and get away from the busy work involved in camp. So for them, that means not worrying about the limits on the software. You've got unlimited reports, unlimited support, unlimited training, and unlimited users. And that means that you can delegate some of this work to someone else too. So please make sure, check out UltraCamp at summercampsoftware.com/CampHacker. And for a limited time, they have a free setup available. So if you're a new UltraCamp customer, you get a free setup with them. So they'd love to talk to you. And we would love to say thank you to UltraCamp for sponsoring the CampHacker podcast. That means it's time for our tool of the week. Kate, welcome to the Tool of the Week for the first time. We're grateful to have you. If people are massive fans of Kate and have followed her here to listen to CampHacker for the first time, this section of the show is where we share a tool that makes us a better camp director. And I'm going to start today with Chris. What's your Tool of the Week?
Super excited about this one. Have you ever had to call a company and then deal with that weird Android like, oh, to complain, press 1. To order something, press 2. To hear these options again, press 3. Well, do I have the solution for you? Numberforliveperson.com. It's dead simple. You go to numberforliveperson.com, you type in the company that you are trying to speak to, an actual real human being, and it will tell you the sequence of numbers that you need to hit on your phone to take you directly there. It saves time. It saves lives. I love it. Sometimes it's not accurate, but 7 times out of 9 it is. And like I said, it's just a lifesaver. It removes one of the aspects of modern life that you would never complain about, but you don't realize how annoying it is till you don't have to do it anymore. So check it out, numberforliveperson.com.
That is awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Kate, what's your tool?
My tool is actually related to self-care. So I've been using this app called Dailyo for about 570 something days. I could check because I'm on a streak. So it's kind of like bullet journaling for your phone. It mood tracks. It's a way that you can do habit forming because you can log your activities that you do, and you can get a streak going of how many times you've done this particular habit. And it lets you do journaling as well. So you can do some notes for every single day. And for me, it has made me a daily flosser. It is the only thing in my entire 35 years of on this planet that has made me a daily flosser. So big props to Dailyo for that one. And it's a great way to sort of see, what are the activities that I do that link with me having a good day. So it's a great way to make those kind of links for yourself.
That is a great one, Kate. Thank you. And in case I forget at the end, just a reminder, if you go to camphacker.tv/podcast, you will be able to look up this episode and find the show notes where you can find links to the things we're talking about today. My tool of the week is a new multi-tool that I just learned about, and it is nice and small. I definitely am a person who carries a multi-tool when I am at camp. have saved lots of things with the stuff in my pockets. This one is kind of smaller, but has kind of what I think are the essential tools. It's a Gerber Gear armbar slim drive, and it is mostly a screwdriver, but also a pocket knife and a bottle opener, box opener. Doesn't have pliers or any of those things. It's not so big you'd have to wear a belt pouch to make it part of your everyday carry in the summer. You would fit in the pockets of most people. And really cool design and super useful. I definitely am an advocate of having a set group of things in your pocket when you are leading camp and having this around. So this is an interesting addition that I'm looking forward to trying out when I get back to camps soon, and just have that stuff handy. So that's the Gerber Gear armbar slim drive for me, for my tool. Gab, what's yours?
I was just going to say it's probably a great fidget toy at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I might need this.
Yes.
I recommend everybody to follow the Instagram OARS, OAAARS, so 3 A's in the word OARS. And I just took a course from them on Monday, Safer Summer for All, Equitable Action Steps. And it was an hour-long course. It was for camp professionals. And I really did feel like what we learned there was something that we can put into practice in our organization immediately. It also highlighted some of the things that we were doing well, which is nice to hear. So that's just reassuring. But at the same time, there's a lot of other great things that we need to be doing and we need to start immediately. They also gave us an opportunity to chat with other camp professionals and set up the tone in a way that I think made everybody feel safe to express that we don't always know what we're doing when we're trying to create a safer space for our youth and our staff members at camp. And so anyways, the Instagram, the reason why I'm saying Instagram is they have some great posts. It'll also let you know when you can take a course, but there's also great information on it. And as a graphic designer, it's also really well done in a graphic way, and it's something that you could share with your staff members. So I enjoy the people from OARS. I think what they're doing is fantastic, and I think sometimes just following and letting other people know about it also helps their organization and the amazing work that they do.
Excellent. Thank you. So I want to thank you, Kate, for being a part of CampHacker, and I'm grateful to have you on and to share your ideas and for us to learn from you. So thank you for being here. If people want to follow up with you, what is a good way for them to get in touch?
I can be found on the Twitter at this Kate Taylor. It's probably the easiest username that I have to find. And you can also email me at kate.taylor@ymcaquebec.org.
Thanks so much, Kate. We're grateful to you.
Thanks for having me on.
Gabz?
You can follow me on Instagram at Gabrielle Rail with 2 L's, and you can message me on via email. I don't know why I said message me, but you can email me at info@waro.com, OUAREAU.com.
Thanks, Gabz. Chris?
Hi, you can find me on Instagram at planetchris1. You can find Camp Highlight on Instagram at Camp Highlight. And you can email me at chris@camphighlight.com.
Thanks, Chris. And we are so grateful. Again, we thank UltraCamp for their sponsorship of the CampHacker podcast. And we want to thank Matt, our podcast executive producer. And we are one of the few shows that Matt still edits. So it's always nice to have your support in that way, Matt. And again, the show notes are at camphacker.tv/podcast. Thanks for the evening, friends.